ہوا چار سو رحمتوں کا بسیرا، اجالا اجالا سویرا سویرا، حلیمہ کو پہنچی خبر آمینہ کی، میرے گھر میں آؤ حضور آ گئے، فلک کے نظاروں زمیں کی بہاروں، سبھی دے مناؤ حضور آ گئے، حضور آ گئے، حضور آ گئے، حضور آ گئے، حضور آ گئے۔
السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔ صلو علیک یا رسول اللہ، وسلم علیک یا حبیب اللہ، اجالا جس کا ہے دو جہاں میں، وہ میرے آقا کی روشنی ہے، اور انہیں کے قدموں کے برکتوں سے یہ زندگی آج زندگی ہے۔ صلی اللہ علیہ یا رحمتوں کا ایک دریا، خواجہ کی گلیوں میں ہے، رحمتوں کا ایک دریا، خواجہ کی گلیوں میں ہے، رحمتوں کا ایک دریا، خواجہ کی گلیوں میں ہے، ارے پنجتن کا گئے کا صدقہ، خواجہ کی گلیوں میں ہے، رحمتوں کا ایک دریا، خواجہ کی گلیوں میں ہے، بے سہاروں غم کے مارو آو اس دربار میں، بے سہاروں غم کے مارو آو اس دربار میں، اور جھولیاں بھرتی ہے سب کی خواجہ کی دربار میں، عثمان ہاروں کا وہ تارا، عثمان ہاروں کا وہ تارا، خواجہ کی گلیوں میں ہے، رحمتوں کا ایک دریا، خواجہ کی گلیوں میں ہے، کیوں کرے دنیا سے شکوا اس لیے آئے بڑے کیوں نہ ہم چونکا کمی تھی اپنے ماتھے پہ ملے ہر ولی کا آنا جانا ہر ولی کا آنا جانا خواجہ کی گلیوں میں رحمتوں کا ایک دریا خواجہ کی گلیوں میں رحمتوں کا ایک دریا خواجہ کی گلیوں میں خواجہ نظام الدین کہ وہ دربار ہے اعلیٰ تیرا خواجہ نظام الدین کہ وہ دربار ہے اعلیٰ تیرا کبھی محروم نہیں مانگنے والا تیرا خواجہ نظام الدین کہ وہ دربار ہے اعلیٰ تیرا اور فرش والے تیری شوقت کیا علو کیا جانے خسروا عرش پہ اڑتا ہے پریرا تیرا خواجہ نظام الدین کہ وہ دربار ہے اعلیٰ تیرا اور تیرے قدموں میں جو ہے غیر کا منہ کیا دیکھے کون نظروں پہ چڑھے کہ تلوار تیرا خواجہ نظام الدین کہ وہ دربار ہے اعلیٰ تیرا خواجہ نظام الدین کہ وہ دربار ہے اعلیٰ تیرا
اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمد للہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین ایاک نعبد و ایاک نستعین اہدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین آمین بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمد للہ رب العالمین والعاقبۃ للمتقین الصلاۃ والسلام علی رسولہ Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Lord and sustainer of the worlds. Abundance of salutations be upon the last and final messenger, Sayyidina Maulana Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Salutations be upon his noble purified household, his companions, and upon the beloved friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Most respected elders, brothers, sisters, children in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, it's a unique occasion that Alhamdulillah we are gathered here again today. Alhamdulillah, in commemoration of the two lights of Baba Fariduddin Ganj Shakar. So Alhamdulillah, it's a unique urs this year that we are coming out of the urs of Hazrat Sabir Pak Kalyari Rahmatullahi Ta'ala into the urs of Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi without a break in between. And Alhamdulillah, so we are here today, Alhamdulillah, to commemorate now the urs of Khwaja Khwajagan, Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala. And we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts this, inshallah. And as I say, this love and muhabba towards the awliya must be a form of our shafa'at on the day of Qiyamah. So Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi, how do we describe him? So the best person to give a short and quick description will be none other than his beloved murid Khwaja Amir Khusro. So when they asked Khwaja Amir Khusro Rahmatullahi Ta'ala as to how would you describe Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awliya, so Khwaja Amir Khusro Rahmatullahi Ta'ala said that my peer Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi, when Allah created him, Allah didn't create him with water and clay like the normal individuals. He says, but rather Allah took the life of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and Khizr alayhi salam and mixed it together, which gave birth to Nizamuddeeen Awliya. They say, why? He says, while Khizr alayhi salam and Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, Allah blessed them that they had the ability to bring the dead back to life. He says, but my peer, he brought the dead hearts back to life. Wherever his breath went, mountains of grief would disappear. So this is how Khwaja Amir Khusro Rahmatullahi Ta'ala would describe his murshid, Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awliya. So when we look at this personality, and Alhamdulillah, I've mentioned this before, that when we look at ourselves as Chishtis as a whole, the structure of the Chishtiya Silsila was formalized by Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi. So the Mashayikh of Chisht say that the seed of the Chishtiya Silsila was planted by Khwaja Gharib Nawaz. It grew into a tree during the period of Baba Fariduddin Ganj Shakar, and it gave fruits in the period of Nizamuddeeen Awliya. So Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi became that figure, a unique figure that structured the entire Chishtiya Silsila. So when we look at as I said, Alhamdulillah, we're coming in from one urs of Sabir Pak into the urs of Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi. So it's nice also to get an understanding of the two branches. So Baba Fariduddin Ganj Shakar Rahmatullahi Ta'ala said that the knowledge of my chest, I gave it to Nizamuddeeen Awliya. And the knowledge of my heart, I gave it to Sabir Alauddin. Which means that they are two separate types of wealth, spiritual wealth, that Baba Farid Ganj Shakar dispersed, which is a clear, what can we say, distinction between the two. Both are not the same. So how would you describe who is Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi and who is Hazrat Sabir Pak Kalyari Rahmatullahi Ta'ala? My Ustad Maulana R.A.U.F, when we were speaking about this and trying to explain the Jamal and the Jalal were both found in one personality. That was Hazrat Baba Farid. He had both. But when he dispensed part to Nizamuddeeen Awliya and he dispensed part to Sabir Pak Kalyari. So they say, how would you describe the two? They say you describe the two by using the example of a wire, a cord, an electrical cable. He says both of it, the power that runs through is the same. The only difference is one has a cabling, insulation cable on the outside, that although whatever power is running through it, you can hold it, you can twist it, you can play with it, and that is the Nizami cable. And the sabri cable is the one that does not have any insulation. You touch it, you get shocked, you get burnt. So he says this is the differentiation between the two. However, the current that is running is the same. So Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala was basically from a family connected directly to the Prophet ﷺ. His forefathers originated from Bukhara, and they were brought from Bukhara to Badayun during the period of the Mongol invasion. So when Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, when they settled in, his family settled in Badayun, the period was so hard after his grandparents, his dada and his nana were first cousins, and their fathers were brothers. And when they came to Badayun, and when the elders had passed away, so Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi's mother experienced very hard financial times. That it is said when you read the life of Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi, that basically he grew up living in, like what we would say, in a refugee camp because of the conditions that were there at that time. But Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi's mother played such an important role in his life that she made every attempt that my son needs to get ilm, get knowledge. He needs to get knowledge. So what she used to do, whatever attempt she used to make, she used to sew clothes, she should do little things, and whatever money she could get, she would spend that on educating her son. So Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi, they speak about, his childhood. And they say that one day his mother sewed for him a shawl because it was winter in Delhi. And he was a student. And it was absolutely cold, and mother sewed a shawl. So Mehboob Ilahi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala was returning home, and he saw a Hindu child who didn't have clothes, and that child was shivering. So Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala goes there, and he takes that shawl off and he puts it over this Hindu boy. And he returns home without a shawl on his body. So the mother is asking him that, my child, what happened with the shawl that I made for you? So Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi said, oh, my mother, I was coming and I saw this one child. This child was freezing in the cold. I took the shawl off and I gave him. So Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi's mother asks him, did you not think for a moment that this is the only warm piece of clothing that you have? And where are we going to get another one because of our financial difficulties? Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi replied, he said that, oh, my mother, when I put that shawl on for that boy, and when I saw comfort on his face, my worries disappeared. Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi says that I never even think, when I saw him happy, that immediately made me not even worry whether I'm going to get anything or I'm not going to get anything. So Mehboob Ilahi's mother then remarked that Allah be praised. Allah be praised that today you have upheld the honor of being from the family of Rasulullah. You understand that these qualities that, she made shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi studied. He studied in Badayun, and he studied and he reached this level in his studies that he qualified and was regarded in Badayun, which was a center of learning in the Indo-Pak subcontinent, with this qualification that he was regarded as the Imam Abu Hanifa II. This is to what category Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi studied, or he achieved. So they say that, for his dastarband, when you qualify as an alim, then you get a turban where they tie the turban for you on your head. So Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi's mother didn't have enough money to sew a full pagri for her son. So whatever she could sew, she sent it with him for his graduation. So they say that when the mashayikh of Badayun were tying that turban on his head, which was not even full, every round they made on his head, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi bowed and he kissed the feet of his ustad. Every round. Right? So the ustad remarked, and he says that if a man, after gaining so much of knowledge, can still bow his head at the feet of his ustad, a time will come when he'll become a giant in the deen. Simple things. Adab again. Is that Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi received this honor because of the adab that he showed. Then we find that Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala Ali, now he has a desire that after, becoming an alim, after having that qualification, he desired to come to Delhi because Delhi now is the capital. And he thought there he'll get a job, with some big masjid or something, somebody will give him a job. So on the way to Delhi, he's traveling in a caravan. So one old man in the caravan, he says, Ya Sheikh Hazir Bash, Ya Sheikh Hazir Bash, Ya Sheikh Hazir Bash. And Nizamuddeeen Awliya is asking, Bhai, who is this? You're calling Ya Sheikh Hazir Bash. So the man in the caravan replied, he said that I call out to my Sheikh, be present my Sheikh, be present my Sheikh. So Nizamuddeeen Awliya asked him, who is your Peer? So he says, my Peer is Baba Fariduddin Ganje Shakar. So they say the moment Nizamuddeeen Awliya heard that name, Baba Farid Ganje Shakar, it went so deep in his heart that he began to love Baba Farid without knowing him or without seeing him. That Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi, since that day, after every namaz, he made a wazifa for himself. Sheikh Farid, Durvesh Farid, 10 times. But he never met Baba Sahib. Right? So he's now looking for accommodation in Delhi. What we need to understand is here's a human being. Here's a man who is Sultanul Mashayikh. But Alhamdulillah, you see how he, he's a student, he comes to Delhi, he's looking for accommodation. He is going through the struggles of life as well. Nothing came easy for them. Right? So he's looking for accommodation, he finds accommodation. Where he finds accommodation? Who's the neighbor? The neighbor is Khwaja Najibuddin Mutawakkil, who's the brother of Hazrat Baba Farid. Right? So they say this is not like by chance this is happening. So he comes, so when he introduces himself, that who are you by, said, no, I'm here for a Badaun, I came to learn. So he's asking him, who are you, so then he says, no, my brother is one of the big mashayikh, my brother is Baba Fariduddin Ganje Shakar. So Nizamuddeeen Awliya tells him, Hazrat, make dua for me. I get the job of being the Qazi of Delhi. Make dua for me. Khwaja Najibuddin Mutawakkil looked at him. He said, make dua for something else. Make dua for something else. Because I foresee you'll never become the Qazi, but you're going to become something else. You're going to become something else. So Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi, then at the age of 22, he leaves Delhi and he now travels to Pakpatan Sharif. Baba Farid Ganje Shakar is 90 years old. Nizamuddeeen Awliya is 22 years old. So the gap, age gap, right? He comes for the first time in the presence of his Sheikh. And Baba Fariduddin Ganje Shakar, in his expression, he tries to say that Nizamuddeeen, I've been waiting for you for a very long time, right? But despite knowing the spiritual capacity and the khidmat and all this of Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi, Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi, I'm going to give you 3 examples of what it was like being in the Khanqa of Baba Farid Ganje Shakar. Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi, when he became murid, where did his Sheikh put him? Sheikh put him to be the cook in the Khanqa. Now we wouldn't envisage such a big personality. Why I'm saying this is because you people can relate to this. All of you can relate to this. Sometimes we feel, we are doing something which is, belittling our standing. But when you see people who attain greatness, where they started in the kitchen. They started being cooks. So one day Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala finds that there is no salt for the food, for the langar in Baba Farid's Khanqa. So what Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi does, he goes and he takes his turban, he goes and mortgages it, leaves it there, borrows some money so he can buy salt for the langar in Baba Sahib's langar khana. When the food is brought, Baba Farid Ganj Shakar picks the food up to eat. He smells it. He puts it down. He says, where is Nizamuddeeen? Where is Nizamuddeeen? Call for him. Mehboob Ilahi comes. He asks him one question. Nizamuddeeen, why do I smell the fragrance of extravagance in the langar today? What went wrong today? You know, sometimes the langar, you know the story, yeah, sometimes things go upside down, right? Baba Sahib is asking, what is wrong with the langar today? So Mehboob Ilahi said, Hazrat Maaf, I went and borrowed money. So he said, you went and borrowed money? Baba Sahib said, from this day onwards, if you don't have it, stay without it. But don't go borrow money and cook this langar. First lesson, you see how Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi is being groomed into understanding big responsibilities. Second thing, what happened? One day, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi is sitting in the assembly of Baba Farid Ganj Shakar. Baba Farid Ganj Shakar, he's in his 90s, eyesight is going. He's reading from a kitab called Awariful Ma'arif. Because Baba Sahib loved Khwaja Shahabuddin Sarwardi. So he kept his one son's name Shahabuddin, and he used to teach the kitab of Khwaja Shahabuddin Sarwardi. So Baba Sahib is training his eyes, and he's reading and he's teaching them. So Nizamuddeeen Awliya is a big alim now. He came from Delhi. So what he's telling Baba Sahib? No, not telling, but yeah, he tells to Baba Farid Ganj Shakar, Hazrat, I saw a clearer copy of the kitab by your brother in Delhi. So Baba Farid Ganj Shakar is holding the kitab, and he asks a question. Is it not in the capacity of this fakir to correct any mistakes in this kitab, if there is any mistakes? Mehboob Ilahi not realizing what's happening. Second time Baba Sahib asks, is it not in the capacity of this fakir to correct any mistakes in this kitab, if there is any? Third time Baba Sahib asked, is it not in the capacity of this fakir to correct any mistakes in this kitab, if there is any? Baba Sahib's son tells Nizamuddeeen Awliya, hey, Hazrat is talking to you. What I'm trying to say is, sometimes our attention goes away. Mehboob Ilahi's attention also goes away. Sometimes 3 times Baba Sahib had to talk. Right? So, Mehboob Ilahi got a shock. When he realized his mistake, Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi got up. He ran out of the khanqa of Baba Farid Ganj Shakar. He himself narrates this in Fawaidul Fawad. He ran to a nearby well because of embarrassment. He wanted to jump in the well. Baba Farid Ganj Shakar said, told his son Nizamuddeeen, go see what your brother is doing, go bring him and come. So they go and they find Nizamuddeeen Awliya crying by the well. They bring Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi and comes back to the khanqa. So they say that Nizamuddeeen Awliya, he arrives in the khanqa, with his head down. Right? He doesn't know what to do. Right? And Baba Sahib looks at him and he smiles. And he says, Nizamuddeeen, always remember that when your sheikh tells you something, he's not telling you to embarrass you, or he's not telling you this to make you look like a fool. He's telling you this because he wishes to beautify you. He wishes to beautify you, because a peer is like one who beautifies brides. He makes them look nice. He doesn't do this because he likes doing it. I hope you're getting the picture. Right? So then what Baba Sahib did, he took his mantle, his jubba, and he put it over Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi. Mehboob Ilahi is 23 years old. Nizamuddeeen Awliya is 93 years old. Mehboob Ilahi is 23 years, Baba Sahib is 93. He desires now, according to hukum from Allah, that the khilafat of the silsila must be handed over to Nizamuddeeen Awliya. So Baba Fariduddin Ganj Shakar Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayh hands over the khilafat of the Chishtiya silsila and makes Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi now the head of the tariqah. Now what happens? Problem in the khanqa. Complaints in the khanqa. People coming to Baba Sahib telling him, we are here for 30 to 40 years. We are here 30 to 40 years. This man comes, he's only here 3 years, and you hand over the wilayat of Hindustan to a 23-year-old boy? Murid is complaining to the Sheikh. Normal. Scenarios. Baba Sahib puts his head down. There's one small boy sitting in the assembly. Small boy. Baba Sahib tells the small boy, go outside, bring one brick and come and put it in front of these people who are complaining. Boy goes out, picks up a brick, half a brick, and he comes and he leaves it by those people who are complaining. So he says, now go out again, pick up a brick and come and put it in front of Nizamuddeeen Awlia. So the boy goes out, picks up a full brick, and he comes and leaves it in front of Nizamuddeeen Awlia. So Baba Sahib said, did you see the scenario, what just happened? He says, I gave an instruction to this boy to go bring a brick and come. I never tell him to bring half a brick. I never tell him to bring a full brick. He says, but if in your nasib is half a brick, and in his nasib is a full brick, the fullness will go to him, by whose command comes from Allah. Right. So, sometimes these things also, people, they sit in the company of mashayikh 30, 40 years. Then somebody comes, you understand, takes everything and go, the calm carries on. People complain. But this is not our thing. This is, alhamdulillah, something that comes from the divine. Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi sits as the head of the silsila. But one more incident took place before I go forward. Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi, just to tell you how Baba Farid Ganj Shakar molded him. So molding was not only done with regards to his ibadat, his private worship. Molding was done on a lot of other things. So one day one man, alim from Delhi, he heard of Baba Farid Ganj Shakar's knowledge. So he said, I want to go and see what his knowledge is like. So he travels from Delhi, he comes to Pakpatan Shareef. Comes to Pakpatan Shareef, he comes in front of Baba Farid Ganj Shakar. He asked Baba Fariduddin Ganj Shakar a question. Baba Farid doesn't answer. Ask him a question again. Baba Farid doesn't answer. He asked him the third time. Nizamuddeeen Awlia from the back, he answers. Give the full answer that this alim whatever he asked for. This alim got so embarrassed that he thought to himself, if this is the knowledge of a murid sitting in the barga of Nizamuddeeen Awlia, then what must be the knowledge of Baba Fariduddin Ganj Shakar? So he got up embarrassed and he left back for Delhi. To the fury of Baba Fariduddin Ganj Shakar, he called Nizamuddeeen Awlia. He asked him, who asked you to give an answer to this question? Who asked you to give an answer? He said, Hazrat, the man asked one time. Yeah, second time, I thought, you couldn't hear it. So I gave the answer. Baba Farid Ganj Shakar Rahmatullahi Ta'ala he says, no, it's not that I didn't know or I didn't hear. He says, this man's intention was wrong. He says, if he came here with the intention to learn, I would have told him. But he came with the intention to test. He says, but you opened your mouth and you embarrassed this alim. He says, now what you got to do? He says, you got to walk now from Pakpatan to Delhi, bare feet, with a plate of food on your head. And you go knock on this alim's door and ask him to make you maaf. Now, what's the challenge? Nizamuddeeen Awlia qualified as the Imam Abu Hanifa II in Delhi. Now he's going to enter Delhi, walking bare feet with a plate of food in his head to go to this alim to ask him for maafi. So, you can only imagine what commotion must have been going on inside. All the waswasa, all the commotion must have been going inside. However, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi does it. He follows the instruction. He walks bare feet and he comes. He comes to the door of this alim, he knocks the door. The alim gets a shock. You see Nizamuddeeen Awlia standing with a plate of food on his head. He asked him, what are you doing? He says, Hazrat, I'm here to ask for maafi for my behavior. So the man is saying, what you talking? He says, all the answers that you gave was correct. He says, gee, it was correct. But it angered my sheikh. Says, why? What do you mean your sheikh got angry? He says, no, he was angry that I answered and I caused you embarrassment. So he says, therefore my sheikh sent this food for me to carry on my head, to come to you to ask you for forgiveness. This Alim-e-Deen said that if this is the quality of your peer, then take me with you back to Pakpatan. I want to become his murid. You know, character building. That now when Nizamuddeeen Awlia is leaving, all his colleagues who got big posts in the government, big posts in the empire, they called him, they asked him, hey, what has happened with you? We were together in the same class. Look where we are. You walking barefoot, got plate of food on your head. This hurt Nizamuddeeen Awlia. Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi goes back to the Khanka of Baba Farid and he tells Baba Fariduddin Ganjeshakar, Hazrat, you know, what my friends were saying, you know, it has been hurting me. So you know what Baba Farid Ganjeshakar said? He says, oh Nizamuddeeen, the next time you see your friends, you give them one message. Let success be theirs and let something else be yours. Let success be theirs, let something else be yours. Another lesson we must take from this is that at the end of the day, alhamdulillah, we in our scenario, we meet our friends out there. People will say, hey, boy, what? Hey, we were, you know what I'm saying? We were with the O's out there. What has happened with you? You understand? You must give them the same message. Because you all are following on his path. Let success be yours. Let something else be mine, what Allah has kept for me. You all are following on this line. The entire structure of this place is based on the structure of Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi. That is why it's called Nizamuddeeen, the one who placed the Nizam, the order of the Deen. And there's a structure in place. So, alhamdulillah, you know, these are small lessons. I'm saying is like, alhamdulillah, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi, there's a lot to speak about him, about his miracles, but if we can't come back to the simple things that he taught, one of the aspects, alhamdulillah, that I touched on earlier today, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi, one day, he was giving a talk about making amal on small things. So he says one day, somebody came to Khwaja Abu Sayyid Abul Khair, and they said to him that, Hazrat, give us some wazifa to read. So Khwaja Abu Sayyid Abul Khair told him, stay in wudu. Stay in wudu. So he says, after some time, that murid came back to Khwaja Abu Sayyid Abul Khair. He said, Hazrat, is there anything else I can do? So Khwaja Abu Sayyid Abul Khair asked him, the first instruction I gave you, staying in wudu, you managed? He says, no, I never, couldn't fulfill it. Khwaja Abu Sayyid Abul Khair said that if you can't follow one thing about staying in wudu, one thing, how are you going to do all the other things? So Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi stressed that try to stay in wudu. And he gives a waqia, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi, is recorded in Siyarul Awliya. He says that on the day of Qiyamah, people will be brought in front of the scales. Nizamuddeeen Awliya says people will be brought in front of the scales. And the amal will be weighed. Says the bad deeds will weigh more than the good deeds. He says then the order will come. Take that man and throw him into the fire of Jahannam. So Nizamuddeeen Awliya says that what will happen at that time? He says the Rasul Sallam will come forward. And Rasul Sallam will say, bring the wuzu towel. The towel this man used to dry his wudu. Bring the towel and come. Then they'll bring the towel and come. Rasul Sallam will order, place that towel on the one side of the scale and now let's balance it. They say the moment they will place the towel a man dried his wudu on the scale, the towel will weigh heavier than all the bad deeds. Simple things Mehboob Ilahi taught, which alhamdulillah we can adopt. Talking about his big ibadat that he used to do, how is it going to help us? But the simple things of Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi, these are things that we can do. And alhamdulillah, when you do it, see the big thing is niyat. See like how Baba Sahib saw the intention was wrong. Here today, we mustn't underestimate the power of intention, niyyah. It's because, just say, for example, today, if we can take this lesson and say, hey, you know what? Mehboob Ilahi taught this. because he is a friend of Allah, let us do this. What will happen thereafter is based on your niyat. You understand? That the phase then will come from the Khajagan. Mehboob will say, Subhanallah, my tawajjuh is on that man because of his intention. So, these are things. Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, just to tell you about some of his murids. How? I'll give you one example. He had one murid. His name was Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib. Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib was the same age as Nizamuddeeen Awliya. They were the same age. However, when Baba Sahib gave Nizamuddeeen Awliya Khilafat, Burhanuddin Gharib was one of the first people to become murid. So although they were contemporaries and same, but his heart was towards Nizamuddin. He became murid. So as Peer and new murid, they come now to Delhi. They're struggling. They got one small khanka. They're running. Things are tough. They are in it together from the beginning. But Mehboob Ilahi becomes Mehboob Ilahi. Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib becomes a Khalifa. Nizamuddeeen Awliya is one of the big khulafa of Nizamuddeeen Awliya. Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib is 70 years old. Mehboob Ilahi is also 70 years old because they are about the same age. Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib is suffering with joint pain. Joint pain. Suffering with it. So because of the joint pain, he went home one day and the blanket that he had, he folded it and he sat on it because of joint pain. What he did? Folded his blanket. Not for any other reason. Only because he was suffering with joint pain. Message went to Nizamuddeeen Awliya. Hazrat, Burhanuddin Gharib got his blanket folded and it looks as if, he's sitting on a sajjada like a peer. And he's a Khalifa. He's a Khalifa of Nizamuddeeen Awliya. Mehboob Ilahi said, is that so? Next day, Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib comes to see his peer. And how Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib, how he used to leave his house to meet his peer. He says that when he used to leave his house, he said that one point in time he asked himself a question, that to walk to Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi on my feet, is it worth adab? Is it worth adab? That he put his head on the ground and tried to walk, basically crawl on his head to the darbar of his peer. These are the people we're talking about. Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib. Right? He comes to the darbar of Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi. Mehboob Ilahi doesn't even look at him. So, okay, he says, all right. He goes to wait to the Jamaat Khana. Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi calls his Khadim Iqbal. He says, go there and tell Burhanuddin Gharib he must leave immediately and go home. I don't want to see him. Hey, imagine your peers, contemporary, Hey, he goes home. No, he doesn't go home. He's old. So what he does, he goes to a nearby peer by his house. You know what? Accommodation for the night. Tomorrow I'll go home. So while talking, the news comes to that peer by, hey, you heard what happened to Burhanuddin Gharib today? I said, what happened? He says, hey, Hazrat is angry with him. Hazrat doesn't want to see him. This murid got so scared. He went and told Burhanuddin Gharib, bhai, please, right, you better go away from here. Because if Hazrat hears that you're staying here, the possibility is may even ban me from coming. Right? So, Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib leaves the house in the middle of the night and he goes home. Mehboob Ilahi doesn't want to see him. Doesn't want to see him at all. Who comes to ask for forgiveness on his behalf? Khwaja Amir Khusro. Because why? They understand who this man is. He's not a small personality. He's one of the senior murids. Khwaja Amir Khusro is asking Nizamuddeeen Awliya to tell you the state of Nizamuddeeen Awliya's anger was that he ignored Khwaja Amir Khusro, who never gets ignored. right? To say that I'm not prepared to forgive him. Please leave, right? Now Khwaja Amir Khusro goes, all the Pir Bhais meet. Now they're thinking, now how do we sort this problem out? So they says, Amir Khusro, only you can do it. Nobody has this capacity, only you can do it. So he says, how are we going to do it? So he says, no, you have to go to Nizamuddeeen Awlia like a criminal, that you committed a crime and he has to forgive you. So what they did, how are we going to do it? So Khwaja Amir Khusro took his pagri out, his turban. He tied that turban round his neck, right, round his neck like one chain. Now he told one Pir Bhai, you hold the chain, you hold this pagri and drag me and go to Nizamuddeeen Awlia. So they're holding this thing and they're dragging him and coming. Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awlia is looking and he says, Khusro, what are you doing? He says, Hazrat, I'm here to ask for forgiveness on behalf of Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib. I'm here to ask for forgiveness on behalf of Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib. Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awlia says, where is he? Call him. So when they go to call him, Khwaja Amir Khusro says, see, you too, you can't go to Hazrat just like this. I'm going to take this turban now, I'm going to tie it around your neck, and I'm going to drag you and go. So they took the turban now, tied it around Khwaja Burhanuddin Gharib's neck. Khwaja Amir Khusro held it and brought him in front of Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awlia. After that, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob asked him that this is not our way. Said to him, this is not our way. That, we'll put big platforms, big gaddis. This is not our way. Listen again. Are we emulating these mannerisms of the mashayikh? Right? There was another murid who was a senior murid of Khwaja Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob, a murid who, when he used to enter Nizamuddeeen Awlia, used to stand up for him. Qazi Muhyiddin Kashani. He lived a simple life, humble life. And because of his humble life, things were tight for him. So when the king heard that Qazi Muhyiddin Kashani is going through a hard time, so what he decided, he wrote out a royal document to say we will appoint Qazi Muhyiddin to a place whereby he can teach the people and we'll pay him. So when that document came to Qazi Muhyiddin Kashani, who was a Khalifa of Nizamuddeeen Awlia, he said, no, it is the order of my Sheikh, we can't accept anything from kings, we can't do anything. However, I will ask my Murshid for guidance in this matter. So when he comes to Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi to tell him that, Hazrat, this was not my asking. The king sent this document on his own. What do I do in this manner? In this matter? You know what Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob Ilahi replied? He says, bring your Khilafat Nama and come. Bring your Khilafat Nama and come and we'll sort this problem out. So Qazi Muhyiddin Kashani goes back home and he brings the Khilafat Nama and come. Mehboob Ilahi tears it up. He tears his Khilafat Nama up. And he said, only because somewhere in your heart you desired it, it came to you. Somewhere in your heart you desired it, therefore it came to you. So now you are stripped of your Khilafat, go sit in introspection. You know how many years he sat for introspection? 2 years. 2 years. So don't feel bad when we talk about introspection. Big people like this, under the training of the shuyukh, were made to do the exact same thing that you people are going through here. It's a blessing of Nizamuddeeen Awlia that he, it's his karam, that alhamdulillah, some of the training that goes on here with aspects of introspection, aspects of ego busting, aspects of all this, which is a total fail today. Alhamdulillah, it's by the grace and favor that, alhamdulillah, we are practicing what Nizamuddeeen Awlia taught 800 years ago and we're not even realizing it. How much can we benefit from this? How much can we benefit from this? You know how much we can benefit from this? Mehboob Ilahi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala one day, to tell you how he can change things. One day he tells his Khadim Iqbal, go outside. The king of Deccan is sitting outside, bring him inside. The king of Deccan is sitting outside, go bring him inside. Khadim Iqbal goes outside, he looks around, he don't see nobody, he see one beggar sitting by the door. So he comes inside, tells him, Hazrat, there's no king here, there's one beggar sitting outside. Nizamuddeeen Awliya said, go outside, the king of Deccan is sitting outside, bring him in and come. They go back outside, they say, Hazrat, there's no king here, there's one fakir sitting here. Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob says, go back, there's the king of Deccan is sitting outside, bring him back and come here. Go outside, they see this man, they ask him, who you? Where are you from? He says, no, my name is Hassan. I'm coming from Persia. I just entered Delhi. I don't have work. I don't have anything. So he says, see, you're the only man that's sitting outside here. Nizamuddeeen Awliya is calling, there's nobody else. Come inside. Come inside. So this fakir comes inside. Mehboob Ilahi asks that, come, king of Deccan, sit down. Comes, king of Deccan, sit down. Hassan is asking Mehboob Ilahi, Hazrat, I'm a beggar. Are you making fun of me? Mehboob Ilahi said, no. He asked the Khadims, is there any food to eat? They said, Hazrat, there's only one roti left. One roti left. Nizamuddeeen Awliya said, bring it. They brought the roti and came. Mehboob Ilahi gave him the roti and he said, take the crown of the kingdom of Deccan and go. What he gave him? A roti. Said, take the crown of the kingdom of Deccan and go. He gave it to him in a bread. Hassan Gango takes that thing, he says, Hazrat Jazakallah. He goes away outside, eats the bread. What happens? This man needs a job. This man needs a job. One farmer asks his Bhai Sahab, Hassan Gango, Bhai, you need a job. He says, yeah, I don't have employment. He said, come, you know how to plow the field. He says, yeah, I know how to plow the field. He said, come, let's go. So they employ him. What Hassan Gango is doing? He's plowing the field. After a couple of days, he comes with a pot of gold to his master. He says, my master, while plowing this field, I found a pot of gold. Found a pot of gold. The master is telling him, tell me something. When you found this pot of gold, was anybody around? He says, no. He said, then why did you bring this thing to me? Why you never keep it? Because you are in need of it. Hassan Gango replied, he says, firstly, the job is not mine. The plow is not mine. The land is not mine. And the animal is not mine. So after using all this and I found this, how can this be mine except that it is yours? Who heard about his honesty? The Sultan. The Sultan said, if we got people like this in our community, I will employ him as a minister in my court. They employed him as a minister in the court. He understood the dynamics of Deccan. The Sultan told him, see if you can go and conquer that area. He goes and he conquers Deccan. And he is made the king of Deccan. When he is inaugurated as the Sultan of Deccan, he needed to make a flag for his royal palace. You know what was the standard on his flag? A roti. Piece of bread. Round symbol in the middle of the flag. The people ask Hassan Gango, what is this? He says, this is the sadaqah of the bread of Nizamuddeeen Awliya. What can we gain? There's a lot to talk about him. We never even touch on this personality. We never even touch on this personality. But, Allah give us, inshallah, the opportunity to, inshallah, speak more about him. Because he's an icon that today is studied in the Cambridge University. Because of his personality and what he did. When we ask ourselves, how would we behave when we do things? Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi, I'll conclude with this. He used to read a dua every day. He used to walk on his corridor. And he used to have his tasbih in his hand and he used to read a dua every day. Because being in Delhi, the challenges of being in the city is not everybody will like you. People will love you, people will hate you, people will speak against you, people will speak for you. You have the political problem, you have everything, and he's in the middle of it. Nizamuddeeen Awliya Mehboob Ilahi used to walk on the corridor and used to make a dua. Oh Allah, he who does not love me, Ya Allah, you love him. Oh Allah, he who is not my friend, let him be your friend. Ya Allah, he who has in his heart enmity towards me, Ya Allah, you have love towards him. Ya Allah, he who ever plants thorns on my path where I walk, Ya Allah, let every flower that blooms in his life bloom without thorns. This was the dua Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mehboob used to read every day. To tell you just, I'll conclude. You know, Mav, this is a personality, right? That when Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mahbub Ilahi made parda, when he passed away, the person to have come to read his janaza namaz was Khwaja Rukn Alam Khwaja Ruknuddin Sahrawardi. We went to his mazar in Multan. So he was the grandson of Khwaja Bahauddin Zakaria Multani. So to tell you who Khwaja Rukn Alam is, his grandfather's mazar is also in Multan, and Khwaja Rukn Alam was passed away and he was buried. He was buried at the head side of his grandfather's qabr. Right? When Rukn Alam was buried, when he was put in the qabr, Rukn Alam folded his legs up in his qabr because his feet were facing the head of his dada. Right? Khwaja Bahauddin Zakaria Multani then came in the king's dream to tell him, take my grandson's body out from here because it's making me feel uncomfortable that he doesn't want to stretch his legs, so build another mazar for him. So therefore that other mazar was built for him. When the janaza namaz was read, right? By the way, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mahbub Ilahi's janaza came out with qawali, came out with mehfil sama. That was his wasiyat, and Khwaja Rukn Alam tried to stop it. However, it just so happened as his janaza was going past, there was qawali going on. And when the qawali was going on, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mahbub Ilahi, from his janaza, his hands came out from both his janaza. Both his hands came out from the janaza box. Khwaja Rukn Alam ran to the janaza and he whispered, Hazrat, please uphold the honor of the Shariat and put your hands back inside. Right? So Mahbub Ilahi put his hands back inside. So the people asked him that, Hazrat, why did you stop this? He says, because if we didn't stop it, Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mahbub Ilahi would have entered into a state of ecstasy to this extent that he would have whirled in the love of Allah from now right until Qayamat. And that we couldn't allow it. That we couldn't allow it. So when they read his janaza namaz, how his ruh came out, he asked his companions who were sitting around him, lift me up, lift me up. So they asked him, Hazrat, you are so weak. You can't even stand. He says, lift me up. So they lifted him up on the side of his body. So they asked him why. He says, because the ruh of my Peer Baba Farid has entered this room. The soul of my Peer Baba Farid has entered this room. So they say when they lifted Mehboob Ilahi up, he bowed his head and his ruh came out while they were holding him, out of the respect of his sheikh. And they say when they buried Nizamuddeeen Awlia Mahbub Ilahi, Khwaja Rukn Alam, who went into the qabr, he collapsed in the grave, fell down, unconscious in the qabr. When he regained his consciousness and came out, when they asked Khwaja Rukn Alam that what transpired with you, Khwaja Rukn Alam says, if only you saw what I saw, then you'll understand. Then they asked him, what did you see? He says, when we were lowering the body of Nizamuddeeen Awliya, he says, I saw Rasulullah himself present in the qabr, waiting to receive the body of Nizamuddeeen. These are our giants of our tariqah, of our silsila. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in our hearts love for these personalities and give us also the ability to study their little advices. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khairi khalki wa nuri ashi Sayyidina Maulana Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salatu salam.
ताजदारे हरम ए शहंशाह-ए-दीन तुम पे हर दम करोड़ों दुरूद और सलाम होलीगाहे करम हम पे सुल्तान दीन तुम पे हर दम करोड़ों दूर रह कर न दम दूत जाए कहीं काश तेवा में دفن ہونے کو مل جائے تو گا زمین، تم پہ ہر دم کروڑوں درود و سلام، تاجدار حرم اے شہنشاہ دین۔ تیری یادوں سے معمور سینہ رہے، لب پہ ہر دم مدینہ مدینہ رہے، بس میں دیوانہ بن جاؤ سلطان دین، تم پہ ہر دم کروڑوں درود و سلام، تاجدار حرم اے شہنشاہ دین۔ اب مدینے میں سب کو بلا لیجئے اور سینہ مدینہ بنا دیجئے، از پائے غوث اعظم اور خواجہ معین، تم پہ ہر دم کروڑوں درود و سلام، تاجدار حرم اے شہنشاہ دین، تم پہ ہر دم کروڑوں۔ پھر بلا لو مدینے میں عطر کو، اپنے قدموں میں رکھ لو گنہگار کو، کوئی اس کے سوا آرزو ہی نہیں، تم پہ ہر دم کروڑوں درود و سلام، تاجدار حرم اے شہنشاہ دین، تم پہ ہر دم کروڑوں درود و سلام، ہو نگاہ کرم ہم پہ سلطان دین، تم پہ ہر دم کروڑوں درود و سلام۔
الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين. اللهم قبل ما سلمنا على حبيبك الكريم، واجعل سلامنا هذا نجاة لنا في يوم القيامة، وشفاعة لنا في يوم القيامة، ووسيلتنا في سائر أمورنا، ووسيلتنا في سائر مصيبتنا. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن العظيم، اللهم زين أخلاقنا بالقرآن العظيم، اللهم نجنا بالقرآن العظيم. يا رسول الله انظر حالنا، يا حبيب الله اسمع قالنا، إننا في بحر هم مغرق، خذ يدنا سهل لنا أشكالنا، قلت هيلتنا أنت وسيلتنا، أدركنا يا رسول الله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي، يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون، الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. بفضل سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Yeah.